What happened is I, of course, was revealing to my partners, these leaders within these companies that I was working in, this spiritual awakening and what I was seeing and what I wanted to do. And candidly, and maybe this is true for a lot of your viewers too, these friends loved me and still do today for who I am, but they could not relate to this journey that I was on. In fact, many of them were afraid for me.
Right.
Uh, oh my God, I hope you're going to be okay as you journey off into this vision that you've got, Steve. So
That's that
uh,
is that is like the hero's journey. Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Dynamic blessings to you. I use the word dynamic on purpose because life is rushing to express through you in a most magnificent way. Today I'm having a great conversation with Steve Farrell, the founder, one of the founders of humanity's team. In other words, we all want to be on the team of humanity. Humanity's keeping pace with unfolding evolution, keeping pace with growth, development, and unfoldment. We're going to have a beautiful conversation with Steve. Right now, we're going to go into the life question of the week, in which someone has written in a question about their life and wanting a greater understanding. If you would like to do the same, email podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. Give us your name and where you are from. Have a beautiful day. Blessings once again, and today we have our life question of the week, and it's coming from W from Kansas City. W says, I've been informed at work that being kind, their description, not mine, as in saying thank you, opening doors, cheerfully wishing individuals a good morning and a pleasant evening, crosses several of my co-workers' boundaries and makes them uncomfortable. By saying good morning and thank you, I feel that I'm acknowledging that person and their divinity, and that I'm happy that they're there. This pushback has me rather baffled. How am I to be kind in a social space that does not welcome kindness? Well, W, it's interesting that you bring that up because I can remember a few years ago there was a woman that worked here at Agape, and she decided to go to another location to work. I think she moved out of the state, and she called me and she says, the most interesting thing happened. My boss told me to stop being so kind. I was used to working at Agape where people would say thank you, you're welcome, things of that particular nature. And she says, my boss said, you're being too kind. You don't need to bring all that spiritual stuff into this organization. So we kind of laughed about it, and it seems as though you're in a very similar situation. First of all, in your own consciousness, you want to make sure that there's no ulterior motive, there's no people pleasing, there's no trying to be liked in your frequency of being kind, so that you're being authentic, that you're not trying to get anything from the person by saying good morning or good evening or have a nice day. So you want to be clear in yourself when you're doing that. And then I would not be yourself if it's appropriate to say thank you if someone gives you something, or if it's appropriate to say you're welcome, or appropriate to say good night. I would still continue to say it, but I would be just mindful now that you've been given some feedback. These days, sometimes people don't want you to open the door for them. They want to be kind of sovereign. They don't want to feel like someone's doing something for them. I would just be mindful so that you're dealing with each individual according to that individual, rather than a blanket well-wisher to everyone. And then being mindful, your intuition will kick in and you'll act appropriately moment by moment. So one, check, reflect on yourself so that you're not being a people pleaser. You're not trying to get something from somebody. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to manipulate. So it's an authentic situation. Be mindful so that you're working with each individual uniquely. And then silently wish people a happy day. Silently wish people a wonderful evening so that you're creating an atmosphere. And you know what might happen? They may miss you saying, good morning, opening the door. So don't take it bad. Just be mindful. Have a bright day, everyone. Peace and blessings, everyone. Life is amazing because capital L life is intelligence, it's beauty, it's love, it's conscious of itself. So I always have a tendency to say life is good because I'm not speaking about conditions or circumstances. I'm talking about life itself that's untouched by experience. And each and every one of us are emanations of the only life that there is, called by millions of names. Today I have with me Brother Steve Farrell. He is the co-founder and worldwide executive of the Boulder, Colorado-based nonprofit, check this out, Humanity's Team. I love that name. Whose focus is to help people throughout the world awaken to their deeper self and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. Prior to co-founding Humanity's Team, Steve co-founded and led 2 high-growth technology companies based in Silicon Valley that were featured in the INC 500 and spanned the United States and Europe. By all accounts, he was living, quote unquote, the good life. But when he felt a calling to play an active role in creating a consciousness movement that could help people across the globe connect more deeply to the divine truth of oneness, he followed his heart, left again the so-called American dream, and found, and what he found is the story. He founded Humanity's Team. Brother Steve, that was a big leap you made. Going from Silicon Valley, American dream, good life, to going into the consciousness movement. How did that happen for you? What were the inner insights and reflective points and motivations that made you make this big shift in your life?
Yes, well, Michael, thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you and your viewers. And let me start out by saying as we know, the real deliciousness of life, true prosperity in all of its forms is here. And where we become conscious, where we understand who we really are, and then we step into that. So sometimes when you share that introduction or people, there's actually a book here that that people can read soon. But what they miss about the story, at least until they read the book, is, oh, he left all the treasure, for this. And it's actually just the other way around. Mm-hmm. I left the fool's gold for the gold.
Uh-huh. I like that.
For the real treasure. So, what happened, Michael, is in the 1990s, when this all was going on and this company was just growing like crazy, from 2 guys with used furniture and a dream and a executive suite to a $75 million company, and actually 2 of them inside of a decade that we started. I also read the Conversations with God books, which of course are aligned precisely with your work at Agape and your work in the world, Michael. And so book 1 came out in 1995, and book 1, just this God of my understanding, this divine presence that I'd been in touch with my whole life, was the one speaking through the books. So it wasn't unfamiliar to me at all. It was actually very familiar, this loving, benevolent, not malevolent, one who was saying, you all are emanations of me. There's only one. We're interrelated, interconnected, interdependent, and we live for the eternity of time, and we have infinity as our upper limit and potential and all of these things. So it was a voice I recognized, and I embraced it right away. And so, wow, that I was on the one hand, living the good life with the things that go with that, even like private jets that my friends had,
Mm-hmm.
And that whole lifestyle. But gosh, when I really felt into this, the truth of who I was, not just the person born to my parents, but the one, the offspring of the divine that I am and that all people are, and that I came into that this life is one of hundreds or thousands of lives, and that so I'm here for just a split second on my eternal journey. And so where I felt into that, where I understood that, what I realized is I was playing a kid's game, with this whole scaling of companies thing, getting top line growth and bottom line growth. It was, especially now with all of the things going on in the world, even in the mid 1990s, there were severe challenges. And of course, it's much worse today. But I said, wow, at the end of my life, if I continue this, doing the serial entrepreneur thing, I am not going to be happy at all. This is not why I'm here. And so I lost my passion for business. The first company we sold in that time frame, the late 90s. The second one we birthed it out of the first company. And when I put that second company down, then I'd come to know Neil Donald Walsh, and I helped him launch Humanity's Team. And then very shortly after we launched it in 2003, almost 20 years ago, I then became the executive director, which is what I've been doing now for 20 years, where now I'm living into the deliciousness of life. And it's all of the things that you talk about, of course, Michael, in your seminars and retreats and at Agape and out in the world, that this true prosperity. And so things really got going actually after I left Silicon Valley, not when I was in Silicon Valley.
Right. Did your partner follow suit with you when you put down the company, or did he continue on his own path?
Yeah, he continued on his own path. And so what happened is I, of course, was revealing to my partners, these leaders within these companies that I was working in, this spiritual awakening and what I was seeing and what I wanted to do. And candidly, and maybe this is true for a lot of your viewers too, these friends loved me and still do today for who I am, but they could not relate to this journey that I was on. In fact, many of them were afraid for me.
Right.
Oh my God, I hope you're going to be okay as you journey off into this vision that you've got, Steve. So
that is like the hero's journey. I can remember my own awakening when I woke up. I was in my last year in USC. I was heading towards medical school, and I had a spiritual awakening and decided to follow the path of what had happened to me. And I remember many people around me, as they did you, thought I kind of lost it a little bit. What was I doing with my life? Plus, I'd had a big court case I was going through at the time, and they thought I was going to go to jail, and they couldn't understand. It's like when you're dealing with the invisible, when you're dealing with the nonlinear, you're dealing with the implicate order. Those who are living in the linear, Newtonian, cause and effect, form life, materialistic life, there's really no understand. You can say it in words, but there's really no understanding of what you're going through. It's as the Bible would say, that which is spiritual is foolishness to most people. So I can see how your partners loved you, but didn't understand that you were being pulled. You had a higher calling. You were being pulled by something that was invisible to them, and so it didn't make that much sense. So what was the nature of the call? If you could, was it a feeling? Was it an inner urge? Was it an insight, or was it just a continual unfoldment of a revelation? I mean, when you got the calling, what did it feel like to you?
Well, what it felt like is I really then went deep with this whole conversations with God thing. And in fact, then I read some of your material, Michael, and A Course in Miracles, and Deepak and Wayne Dyer, and material
You know,
from
all of our
science.
friends there, me and
All of our
Neil and
friends,
Deepak and Course
right?
of Miracles.
And really going back and digging into sacred text,
Yeah,
going back to BCE times, and what I realized is all of this actually was already out there.
yeah, yeah.
Neil's material just condenses it so that it's an easy read, so you just can't miss anything. But it actually was already all out there. So what happened then is I sat with that for a period of time, where I sat with, okay, I'm Steve Farrell, born to Joe and Linda, and that's my reality with this one lifetime, or I'm actually an emanation of the one, and Joe and Linda are kind of like the ramp here at an airport, where you're just walking into the airport from the plane, but that's a fairly small function. The bigger one is, where did I come from with this potential, with this everlasting life, with this divinity, And so I sat with these to say, who am I really at my basis, at my core? And when I made the decision that it was actually the latter and not the former, then so it was a self-identification thing, where I self-identified that way and said, this is really who I am. Then just the curtains parted, everything changed. Boom, my reality then went in a whole new direction. My passion for business dramatically fell off. And then I started feeling into, okay, well, what is my role going to be in this whole awakening thing and this conscious living thing? And it took a couple of years before we launched Humanity's Team. So I was sitting in that space for a good while before we got going.
Right, right. I understand. It's your awakening and you're being called. It's classic, because you have to, once you get the calling, then there's an integration period, and oftentimes in the integration period, you're really not even doing anything for a couple of years. It appears to people you're not doing anything, but inside, as you were talking about, you were studying, you were gleaning insights, you were integrating the calling that was pulling you. And I too remember those days. I remember when I first woke up, I was amazed at how everybody was chasing money. It was like everybody's chasing money. I mean, it was comical to me, because I could see once I woke up, it was like it leads to nowhere. I mean, of course, you need money to eat, to pay your rent, whatever. There's a level of coin of the realm that's necessary, but the endless chase of it just to stack it up, it seemed foolish. So I can remember all of that happening within my soul, until I finally came to an awareness that, oh yeah, I'm to be of service. And in being of service is going to provide what's necessary for me to have what I need in the world. But it's not about just stacking up Benjamins, as they say. That's not, as you described it earlier, that's fool's gold. That doesn't lead to happiness or peace of mind. It leads to more of I got to protect what I get, But yeah, so I think integration is very important, and sitting for a couple of years. And so you started Humanity's Team, and Humanity's Team is a non-profit. It's 100% of our revenue goes towards back into Humanity's Team, back into programs that will inspire, uplift, transform, educate, bring in teachers that will ultimately be instruments for inspiration and giving people different pathways to awakening. And so going from going from for-profit into non-profit, what was that shift like for you? You could have started a for-profit business. Like many people have for-profit businesses around transformation and teaching these metaphysical principles, but you did nonprofit. What was the movement along those lines for you?
Yeah, right from the beginning, this was the calling, and it was to be a nonprofit. It's within Humanity's Team. Back in near the beginning, there was my mother-in-law, as she was watching it unfold, said to me in those first years, she said, Steve, that really sounds and looks like a God job to me. And
Did you
I
say
thought, well,
a
that's
God
interesting.
jump? God jump?
God job, a God job. Yeah. And I said, that's an interesting thing, Artie. And then I came to realize, that's exactly what this is. This is a God job, because we're just downloading, what is ours to do, and we're vessels,
A God
for
job. Is that what you said? A God job.
God job.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you said a
good.
God jump, which is a good word too. God jump.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
a
God
God?
job too.
Yeah, okay. God, a God jump.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and as this thing has unfolded into where we are today, we're now 20 years out from the launch. Boy, see, here's the thing. In the mid 90s, and then yours was even earlier, Michael, where you left med school and this, a prestigious path to do this work that you're doing. We were called, and we're early. You were much earlier even than me. Now, with the extreme weather and all of these things going on in the world, we're gonna come into a kicking and screaming if we don't choose it ourselves. We will now find our divinity. I don't think the extreme weather is going to get better, and other things aren't going to get better until we elevate consciousness. Even Einstein said this 75 years ago. He said, there's a delusion of consciousness. It's a prison for us. That it's only those closest to us that we have any affinity for, and this, our job must be to break free, from this prison, from this optical delusion, to who we are, to a connection to the whole world around us. And that's in a nutshell, is exactly what the issue is today. That we can't wait another 25 years. We need to see this optical delusion. Of course, it's what your work is. It's what our work is in humanities team. There's no separation at all. The divine is right here, right now. And where we take the time to go within, pray, meditate, walk in nature. There's so many ways to do this, but to really get in touch with the divine that is within, and then to be and to step into that, to embody that, to express it. It's who we are anyway. Then we naturally put ourselves in service. And even the scientists have a beautiful way of describing this. They like to use their science terms. They say that we are sovereign to this one body. So that's kind of, that we're all one would be what Neil would say, or you would say, we're emanations of the divine. These are all, we're saying the exact same thing here. And when we can awaken ourselves and become an awakened being and really live as an awakened being, then we see, just like what Einstein said, it's not then just the affinity for a few. We then see our connection to Mother Gaia and to other people and to the world around us. And we naturally then put ourselves in service to that. That's just who we are. That's how we're made. That's what it means to say we're sovereign to one body. And so in Humanities Team as a nonprofit, with your help, Michael, and others, and you've actually been one of our biggest friends and partners, we've said we've got to pick up the pace. Planetary awakening, conscious evolution. We need to pick up the pace. We're not on a pace right now to take out this extreme weather problem and the wars in the Ukraine. Because we can't start a war, when we're conscious. We can't do the kinds of things we're doing to our planet that create climate change problems and other problems for our planet when we're conscious. We just can't do those things. Because we see our connection. We become responsible. We take positive action. These are things mature people do where they see their connection. So now, as a nonprofit, as you know, with your assistance, Michael, we're reaching out all over the world. We're doing projects all over the world that are elevating conscious living as the thing, and saying, hey, we've all sat in these conversations with friends and family in the kitchen and back porch and so on, where it's just a hand-wringing exercise. And people are saying, oh my God, can you now these Supreme Court decisions, and now these shooter experiences, and there's all of this worry and hand-wringing. And we say, yeah, we know about that. We're clear on that. But look at the good things that are happening here. There are more and more people who are conscious, who see who we really are, who are embodying and expressing who we are as a part of the divine, emanations of the divine. And where we awaken each other, then we come into true treasure, the real gold, in our homes, in our personal lives. But two, then when we do it together, we create this heaven on earth. I heard a term the other day. We create home, heaven on Mother Earth. We come home.
Yeah.
So this is, and as a nonprofit, we can do this so much better than as a for-profit, because as a for-profit, then we have stockholders, and everything's coming back to the stockholders. As a nonprofit, we don't have any stockholders. We don't have any shareholders. We only have the 8 billion people here on the planet, humanity's team. We represent everybody on the planet. We're saying, hey, join us. Let's pick up the pace. Let's
tell them what pace means. Tell them what pace means. Tell them what pace means.
Yeah, pace. So planetary awakening, conscious evolution, pace. So we've got to pick up the pace. And the particular download we got was that we need to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. So that's in about 18 years. So that's a big mission, 18 years to make it pervasive worldwide. So, and we're not on a pace to do that. So that we're saying we need to pick up the pace. And of course, Michael, you've come in, as a powerful voice and an expression of this, and it's what you do all day long at Agape is, hey, we're divine beings. Let's live into the fullness of it. Let's pick up the pace. Let's create this glorious earth that, we want for our kids and future generations.
Absolutely. You said a lot. And I like the reference to Einstein and the optical delusion and the optical illusion of separation. And you used the word mature, which I love the word mature, because as we spiritually mature, then we begin to see differently. We begin to see that we're not disconnected from the earth. We're not disconnected from each other. We're not disconnected from the rivers and the oceans. We're not disconnected from the rainforests. We're not disconnected from the planet, of which many people are living. They're under the delusion that they're separate from each other, which is why they can bomb someone else and bomb another nation and bomb another culture and exploit another culture, because they're under the delusion that they're separate from those other individuals, whatever. There aren't any other. We're all one. That's what happens when you mature in your ability to see properly. So what you're doing, and I always love the word, and I want people to understand this, humanity's team, because you're saying in substance that you're on humanity's team. It's like we're on humanity's team. So when you started breaking down the awareness that when you have a for-profit organization, then the team is basically to make money for the shareholders, and you'll make decisions that it'll be for the shareholders, which may or may not benefit the entire world. It'll benefit the shareholders primarily because they're looking for a profit. But humanity is the shareholder, in your nonprofit. So everything is basically seeding the ideas of unfoldment and evolution and inspiration and opening ourselves up for the condition of oneness, so that humanity is being lifted up. So everything that you've just run down for us, I think, is extremely important. So I want people to hear, when they hear humanity's team, I want them to hear that humanity is the stakeholder and the shareholder, and all of the programs that you birth through the nonprofit humanity's team is for humanity, you see. And I think it's very powerful. Now run down some of the programs that come out of humanity. Now you have free programs, you have master classes, you have the streaming platform, global oneness summits. There's so much that has evolved over the last 20 years. What are some of the programs, and what really is singing in your heart now?
Yes, well, we the big thing that there are a couple of big things that are kind of in the middle of this work that we're doing. One is we've got a streaming platform. It's a conscious streaming platform. It's a true streaming platform. So means that all devices, iPhone, Roku, Google Pay, et cetera, of course, the computer, that it's streaming to all of these devices. So you can watch the transformational education programs on all of these devices. It's a conscious community, even more than just transformational education, where you've got training programs, because we have live programs now all week long. Neil has a program every Wednesday. I have a program every Wednesday, Dr. Jonathan Ellerby on Thursday at noon, and then Stephen and Kevin, 5 p.m. Thursday, and many more. We have watch parties where people come together and watch transformational education programs that we create together. We often have over 100 people on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we do those programs. So it's a conscious community that has hundreds of transformational education programs available to them, and then all these live programs throughout the week that are going on. And this is our strategy when we say make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040 in 18 years. People are right to say, what's your strategy? I mean, that's a big lift. How the heck are you going to do that? And we say, well, we're a nonprofit, so we're bringing price down on that streaming platform. We started at $5.99. It's at $3.99. It's $39.99 a month if you want the plan. We also offer the master classes as individual if people want to go that route, though it's much more economical where they get the streaming platform and it's true streaming. So my 89-year-old mother can just the one click and you're coming down vertically through a program, or you say, I want to catch Michael's other program he did with Panache Desai from the one he just did with Neil, and you click over once and boom, you're in his other program. You're one click away from anything that you want to do. So, and then we're a nonprofit. So we have a 1-for-1 program because outside of this country in particular, people can't afford, $3.99 might be economical to most of us for a year, but outside of this country, that's a fortune. Most people can't afford that. So we give it away. So every paid subscription creates a free subscription for an underserved, underprivileged individual, mostly outside of this country. We're in 65 countries now. Where we give it away. So that's a big one. And then the Global Oneness Summit, Michael, you've been really gracious with your time. You've come in for so many years, over the years, since 2010 when we started it, where we have a big summit. It's free. And in all of the facets of life, we talk about living from this place of the divine, of divinity, where we're an expression of it, where we really step fully into this aspect of we're emanations of the one, and what the invitation is when we do that. So these are some of the key programs. Now, the overarching theme that we're now using, which we announced in the spring of last year, is called Changing Humanity's Future. And you can actually go to changinghumanitiesfuture.org, and you'll land right there on the page that explains this whole initiative. What caused us to create this and make it our overarching theme was we were sitting, Michael, in these conversations, like in kitchens, where people were doing the hand wringing of, God, things are bad, seems like they're getting worse. We're saying, why aren't there more people in these conversations that are the voice, the expression of conscious living, hey, got it. I know those things are going on, but here, let's talk about all the good stuff that's happening and what we're journeying toward, in creating this whole new way of living on the earth, right? That's what Changing Humanity's Future is about, where we're elevating conscious living as the thing. And we simply talk about the beauty and the blessing of living consciously. And so many of us are. And of course, Agape, is growing and growing and growing with these people and people all over the world. So the page has then many things on it. There's right near the top, it says confirmations of a conscious reality. And you click on that and you go to a page where it talks about all the way back to Hippocrates and Plato, and these were people in 500 BCE, 2,500 years ago, said there's one consciousness, there's just,
this is not new.
This is not new. There's a whole page just for people new to this, because science gets people's legs strong, of look at what all these people in the history of time have shared, this is like,
some have given their lives for this, you know what I mean?
This is ultimate reality. It's not something we're trying to create. It's what is.
Right.
Let's live what is.
Beautiful. Now you have a memoir coming. I think it's a memoir that's coming out.
Right.
It's a book.
Yeah, it is. It's
Universal Dream. Is that what it's called?
Right. A new universal dream and my journey from Silicon Valley to a life in service to humanity. Right. So a book coming out in June, and it's my personal journey in that of what we're speaking here, and it goes back to when I was a teenager, and I was just with a single mom, and she was a legal secretary, and I was smoking a pot back in those days, and just a kid, just a regular kid with 6 siblings, 7 kids, with a single mom and a little home, and and then just this whole journey into today and the work that we're doing, where I described this fool's gold thing, because so many people, as you know, Michael, you were talking about this whole money thing, so many people are fascinated by this whole fame and wealth thing, and they, and private jets and all of this stuff. I had a chance to really live with that for some number of years and really see the junk in the trunk, that it's a pretty outside on the vehicle, but boy, you open that vehicle and look inside, not so pretty. I actually have a lot of compassion for these people, because their lives are hard. It is not what people think it is. Their lives are hard.
Yeah. I like to say sometimes that society has placed a celebrity and wealth on the throne and taken off wisdom and compassion. And so people are living in the world. They actually look at somebody that has a lot of money, or they look at somebody that has a lot of celebrity, and they actually think those individuals are better off and that are better than other people. And wisdom and love and compassion have been temporarily taken off the throne. You turn on any news channel or any particular reality program, and everybody's like hyping up people that have celebrity or money. And as you've just said, that doesn't necessarily mean that a person is happy or has a lot of joy or a lot of health or a lot of friends. It just means that people know about them, and just means that they may have a lot of money. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're living a life that is in integrity with their soul. Doesn't mean that they're living a life of service. Doesn't mean that they're living a life of generosity, philanthropy, compassion, And so it's a kind of a societal sleight of hand, pointing you towards that which is transitory and temporary, rather than pointing you towards that which is eternal and forever. And Humanity's Team is more than an organization. It's a movement of consciousness, I would say, pointing people toward the direction of that which is real and eternal. Doesn't mean you can't be prosperous. Doesn't mean it can't be healthy. Doesn't mean you can't have wonderful relationships. All of those are the dynamic byproducts of living a worthwhile life. Yeah.
And if I can just jump in, Michael, on this, what I see is what I see when I see so many of these folks is I actually have compassion, because I think, oh boy, they got hijacked. Because we work with mediums and NDEers all day long in the Humanities Team. We've got faculty, creating these new programs and things, and they're all saying the same thing, that we boom, it's over. We go across that light tunnel. We do this life review. We see ourselves through other people's eyes. That's the whole thing at that point. We're not looking at bank accounts. We're not looking at cars.
You can't spend nothing without a body.
We're looking at how loving were we, how in service were we. This was the whole thing. This is the only thing we're looking at. So if we get hijacked then by, this career doing, in baseball, or as a New York banker, or as a technology executive or something, and we get off on this crazy trail of accumulation, it's, I have compassion, because I think, I know that when they do their life review, it's like, oh my God, I didn't go, all of the things that could have been didn't happen.
Right. It's almost like a modern day Scrooge experience, where he's living accumulation and stockpiling coins, and then suddenly wakes up realizing that, it's about generosity, it's about love, it's about forgiveness, it's about integrity. Yeah. Now in your book, what is it called again? The Universal.
New Universal Dream.
The Universal Dream. What else do you cover in the book?
Yeah, so it is. It's really it's a 40-year journey. So as a teenager, where I grew up in this home, it was about 1,400 square feet, 8 of us living in it. Very, very. We middle class there, just outside of Washington.
What number were you in the family?
And I was near the middle, so I was the third oldest.
You were the third oldest.
Yeah, and then I just so it talks about me from that early age, and where I don't only have a mom around who works full time, and so I'm getting out and doing social things, and kind of losing my way a little, and then Then I hitchhiked around the country and really kind of grew up fast. So went on, graduated from college, moved out to California, had a terrible first job, but then landed, was able to kind of move up fairly quickly. And then IBM hired me on. And then from IBM, I went out and started these companies where we just were in the right place at the right time. We went from, like I say, two guys used furniture and nothing to $75 million companies, and two of them, within 10 years. So, so I mean, just an incredible ride. But that was really just setting the stage for the true ride. When I sold all of that, left all of that, moved out here to Boulder with my family, doing this work. Where now, boy, I mean, I'm. Warren Buffett says he skips to work. Well, I'm on a magic blanket to work.
A magic carpet. Huh? Now, are your siblings still alive?
They are. Yeah.
Are you guys close? Are you close? What do they think about you?
Yeah. Well, so one of them, my older brother, came in and worked in the humanities team for a couple of years, helped us to build it to where we are now. So he really he's always felt that the spiritual side was light. So he saw this as his opportunity to kind of become a little more spiritual. And the rest of my family, I think they see kind of what happened then. Humanities team now is we're growing like crazy.
Yeah.
Reach and impact going everywhere. So they're kind of amused. They're like, they thought I was making a mistake walking away from everything. And it's taken 20 years. It's taken a long time, to really.
20 years is not that long, though. It's a blip. I mean, it appeared, when you're in it, it feels like a long time. But 20 years to build a movement is rather short, actually. But
well, and again, you, Michael, as you know, and Neil, Neil Donald Walsh, co-founder, and other leaders that have come in have made that happen. We've just all kind of done this together, extended the invitation. This is ultimate reality. It's who we really are. Do you want to live into that? And once we walk through that door, decide we want to live into it, it all naturally happens. So what I was saying earlier, you couldn't start a war. You couldn't start a company making GMOs. Yeah. You couldn't do things that create climate change. You simply can't do that because that you're a part of this beautiful Gaia.
Right.
You're in service to it and humanity around us.
So when a person reads this book, what's the ultimate message you want them to get? Some of it you've already covered, but when this person picks up this book and they read it, what do you want them to leave with?
I think the thing that people will get out of it is there's this whole fascination with the American dream. They're going to get a first person view of exactly what that is and how that works and all of its all of the luxury that is that lifestyle. But they'll see through it here as they progress through the book and see the enormous challenges that are in that lifestyle. And they'll see what steps then I was taking to leave it. I call it a U-turn, where you're kind of on the left side of the U. You're up here in the American dream with all of that financial luxury, and then you see, oh my God, it was a mirage. Because what I share in the book is when you get to a $500,000 company, it's got to be $1 million, and then just 500 million has got to be $1 billion. There's a guy I knew in the course of this that had 975 million, and he said, "I'll start my charitable work when I get to $1 billion." It's always out there. I gotta. When I get to,
and then they become afraid to give it because they don't want to give that much. It's like you find individuals who have $1 billion or more. And then they'll start a foundation, and legally they only have to give 3% away a year to remain legally viable. And they become very difficult to give the 3% away because it's like they're losing something. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Right. It's true. Yeah. So I take you on that journey, through that. And into then you come down the U, you're letting go, letting those doors close so that the doors can open on the other side of the U, and you come up the other side where you're conscious, where new people, new opportunity, things drawn to you, boomerang effect, all these things, where then the true, instead of fool's gold, it's real gold, the deliciousness of life, prosperity in all of its forms, all of these things that were the reason that we embodied in the first place. So it's a first person's 40-year journey through that whole thing. And I haven't seen a book quite like this where somebody lived it, and they're taking you through their experience of all of that.
Yeah, what I like about it is the fact that you're not writing this book at the end of your life. Somebody might write a book. They're 90 years young. They've done all of this. You're writing your book in the middle of humanity's team. Humanity's team is still growing, it's still unfolding. You're still on a tipping point of more growth and more service. So you're sharing your journey up to this moment as a leap-off point to even greater generosity of the Spirit. So I think that's very, very important. And you're writing it as an individual that not theoretically understands Silicon Valley, money, profit, bottom lines. You're writing it as an individual who's actually lived it, changed their life, and is in the middle of being on humanity's team in a very powerful way. So I applaud you and can't wait for it to come out. I will read it. I did read some of it. I have endorsed it, as you know. And so I'll be glad when people can get it in their hands and actually read it. It reminds me of, in my book, Spiritual Liberation, Fulfilling Your Soul's Potential, I have a story in there about Paul Newman. And as you know, Paul Newman, I think he had just received an Oscar or an Emmy. He had received some award, and he was about to put it in his vanity place where he has all of his awards and medals and stuff. And he was looking at it, and he kind of thought, "Is this all there is? I'm getting another award for acting, for doing what I love, making more money." And he said, "I'm getting awards and I'm getting money. I'm going to change the game. I'm going to see how much money I can give away before I die, rather than how much money I can accumulate before I die." And that's when he started his non-for-profit organization, making those cereals and dog foods and a whole bunch of other things, of which all the profit went back into the business so that he could give away to charities. And by the time he made his transition, I think he had given away over $100 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He changed the game from how much can I accumulate to how much I can give away. And I think he was a really good example of just changing the game. It doesn't mean you can't be prosperous. Doesn't mean you can't be wealthy. Doesn't mean you can't, love your job. He loved acting, but he changed the game. And this is what you're speaking about as well, being on humanity's team, just changing the game. Just changing the game.
And again, there's so many that really get stuck in. We're giving up things that we have to give up this to do this, and it's just it is not giving up. It's nurturing. It's bringing it all in. It's finding that all of prosperity in its fullness, the deliciousness of life. It's that. So it is not what people think. Where this whole notion of giving up. I have a beautiful home, a beautiful life. This whole boomerang effect thing kicks in, where you give yourself purely to your work, and it's really about just the one. That all of us Gaians here. There are beautiful things that happen. The wife that shows up, my kids, my home, my work, working with you, Michael, and these other beautiful leaders out in the world. So that I would love to dispel that one, that where we launch off on this conscious journey, we lose stuff because we don't. The book tells this story. The book also, as I go through it, I stop and say, this is what I learned and this is how I applied it. So I do that throughout the book, because what I want this to be is an opportunity for people to kind of come along and kind of see what I saw and learn as I learned. There were all kinds of mistakes I was making here, still do. There's no perfection or even excellence all the time. But then I am conscious, I'm paying attention, and I'm learning as I'm going. So within the book, I'm really framing those things that I learned, so people can sort of kind of grab tools, put tools in their own toolkit of, that one applies to me too, and this one and this one and this one. The other thing I want to say, and I think it's why it's coming out at this time, just, not at the end of my life, is, as we know, boy, this is the moment. I mean, the pivot here to creating this sustainable and flourishing world, or shift into that. This is our moment. There's no question about that. The extreme weather will keep getting worse. until it's microcosm, macrocosm. As long as we're stuck in the optical delusion of this at a microcosm level, the macrocosm of all these terrible things going on in the world will continue. These are directly connected. When we awaken to who we are and really see then the oneness, all of Gaia and her beauty and humanity and its beauty, and we do that together, macrocosm, boom, this is when all of these beautiful things are happening. So this journey is very important. We're pivoting into it now. And I just want to invite people, in Agape, in Humanity's team, out in the world, this is the most important journey of our time. This is not a little side conversation. This is the thing that we need to be paying attention to now.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time and being with us today. We're going to look forward to the release of your wonderful memoir. And of course, we will continue to keep up the pace, working with each other on Humanity's team, spreading the agape love in a very powerful and dynamic way. Give all of your staff, those who I've had the privilege of working with for many programs over the few years, give them my love. And continue to do the great work, my brother. Continue to do the great work.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Michael. And back at you. Together we can and we are.
Absolutely. We're doing it. God bless you. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. That was Steve Farrell and Humanity's team. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'm always reminding you of two things. One is we're sponsored. Take Back Your Mind is sponsored by AdaptoZen. AdaptoZen is a tributary of Nutrarise.com. Superfood Greens. It's my particular formula of adaptogens, prebiotics, probiotics, digestives, and 47 different plant ingredients for the health of the body temple. And our vitamin D3K2, you just go to Nutrarise.com, tap AdaptoZen, and you'll see the product. You'll get 10% off of your first purchase. That's one of the sponsors of Take Back Your Mind. The other sponsor, of course, is the Agape International Spiritual Center. We're now moving into our 37th year of being of service. Sunday services, university with classes, many, many ministries for individuals' healing and upliftment. To find out more about the Agape International Spiritual Center, just go to agapelive.com and see the many offerings for your growth, development, and unfoldment. Until then, have a beautiful and bright day. You not only deserve it, it's a part of your destiny. Have a bright day. Now is the time for us to have just a brief meditation. Obviously, in taking back our mind, we want to be mindful and heartful. We want to have moments where we stop and pull our attention away from the world, have a level of reflection so that we can reset and move again without the accumulation of thinkingness, mentation, particularly where our mind has been hijacked by worry and doubt and fear. So I invite you for just a moment or two to just close the outer eye, hear the sound of my voice. It's called turning within, turning away from the world of appearances, circumstances, situations, people, places, and things. And we just stop. We notice that the body's breathing, and we notice that the body is breathing presently. It's not breathing in the future or the past. So we are allowing for our attention to keep us present with the breath. And it is in this awareness that we embrace this vibrational intention. The vibrational intention today is, I'm always on the verge of a greater discovery and expression of my true self. I'm always on the verge of a greater discovery and expression of my true self. I'm participating in my own unfoldment. With this as our focus, we're in league with becoming a greater expression of the infinite potential that is within us. So we're not stuck, stymied, or stagnating around the status quo of the world, as was discussed with Steve today. We're involved in becoming a greater expression of ourself. I am embracing and discovering more of me and allowing more of me to express. Feel into that feeling and sit with it for just a few seconds. So that the infinite potential that's within us is consciously being connected to and set free. Feel into that. Let us give thanks for this precious moment of reset, not to the world, but to a deep and an abiding intention to be the next great vision and version of what we are now becoming. And so it is. May you open your eyes. Have a bright day. You are taking back your mind. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.